Welcome to Wager Talk's last call. Kelly Stewart here, joining you guys we'll call it morning. It's still morning. Every Friday morning here through the March Madness. Saturday, Sunday coming up on deck as well. We've got Jesse Schule today from WagerTalk.com to answer all of your questions, of course. We've got VR. You guys know him as the Greek Gambler. He should be logging in any minute. So if you guys have a question, you know what to do. Drop it in the chat because we are here for you. I do want to get out of here in the next 29 minutes, though. As you can tell, I'm already ready for the beach. Johnny Detroit's 50th birthday, so I'm going to go head down and hang out with him. Maybe have a couple Viva Seltzers. If you don't know what Viva Seltzers are, they're right behind my left shoulder. All right, Art DeCesar sent me a text already, guys. So here are some of the needs from the Westgate Superbook. Now, don't forget, day of the game if you're waiting to bet. Sides are minus 108 over there right now. That means you're saving 2 cents on every dollar. He said, shocker, shocker, shocker. They're going to need some interesting things here. They're going to need Michigan big time. They're going to need Ole Miss. They're going to need the over in the Houston-Purdue game because that house player that's been hanging around all weekend is on the under, which is kind of shocking considering 4-0 on the overs last night. The Sharps, however, are on Kentucky. So they're going to need Tennessee. I, too, like Kentucky tonight. We're going to get into some more of these games, 4 games, and then maybe get a little look ahead for tomorrow if there's anything we need to get out in front of. Art said he's sorry. He's not going to be on the show tomorrow. Let me check in with the producer. Is VR here? If not, no VR. So we're going to go to Jesse. We're going to take some of his questions here. And when VR pops in, we will get his look behind the computer screen as well. Jesse, glad to have you with us. I know you guys had an earthquake this afternoon. In case you guys didn't know, Jesse's on the other side of the world. And I'm really glad you're here and have internet so you can do the show with me.
I guess it was 6 or 8 hours ago now, but 7.7, that's a pretty big one for me. I'm not from California, so I've been through some 4 or 5 on the Richter scale earthquakes. This one was a pretty good one. It was shaking the house pretty good. Power did go out for a couple hours, but everything's back to normal.
I love it. Back up, ready to go, ready to answer some of the questions. Guys, again, if you have a question, drop it in the chat. We will get it answered. Jesse, I have talked about this ad nauseum on Bet On It this week. Last call yesterday. I did not take Marco D'Angelo's advice. I would have went 1-1 had I done so. He said, take the points with your opponents of your futures bet. So I have a Florida 40-1 bet and a Texas Tech 30-1. I did not take Maryland, but I also did not take the Hogs. The Hogs would have cashed in and gave the Red Raiders a real scare. Now I have Florida facing Texas Tech. So there's almost a built-in hedge. I guarantee to have a team to the Final Four. Obviously, I'm hoping it's Florida because I think they're going to give Duke the best run for their money. What do you think I do? Do you think I wait? Let's see who gets through and then make a decision. Or right now, if I can find a 2-1 on Duke to win the national championship, do I go ahead and get in front of it? Because boy, oh boy, did they dagger me. Cooper Flag halftime. Right. Seconds before halftime, daggers me with my Arizona plus 5.5. And I just said, at that moment, I'm going to bed. I have seen enough.
I don't think you can hedge by taking Duke at 2-1. I mean, just imagine how you're going to feel if Florida does upset Duke in the Final Four or in the final. That would make you want to throw up all over yourself. I think you got to ride it out. I like Florida. I heard you say that a couple weeks back. I did like Florida in the SEC tournament. I think Florida is sneakily a top 4 team. They don't seem to get the sexy top 4 is the Alabama, Auburn, Duke. Everybody likes those teams. Not a lot of people really showing Florida enough love, and I think they're fully capable of upsetting Duke.
Oh, you might be one of the only guys to do that. Yeah, I just did bet sweats with my good friend Sammy P, and he said, Cal, you got to bet Duke. Well, they have Duke futures, which is a little bit of bias built in, but also I have a dime on Texas Tech and a dime on Florida. So I'm going to lose one of those. But the reality is the prize, yes, you want to guarantee yourself money, but do I really want to bet a few dimes on Duke to possibly win the whole thing? You're right. I would be kicking myself. And you think Florida has the horses to beat them? We'll see. John Murray said 3.5, 4 is probably what the number is going to be. We'll see how dominant Duke is over Alabama. And we'll get into that game here a little bit later on. Let's touch on today's games, Jesse. First one up, Ole Miss, Michigan State. I mentioned that we need the Westgate Superbook needs Ole Miss. Here's my problem. I think Ole Miss is a great team. I was very happy for them to get the outright upset for me on Sunday. About my only saving grace, about the only dog I could get to win outright. The Colorado State Rams could not get the outright winner. And I thought, God, like I'm just done betting dogs. Luckily, I already had Ole Miss in pocket. Here's what I like about them. They don't turn the ball over. That is my favorite thing about them. It's also my least favorite thing about Florida. They have a ton of D1 experience, but everybody wants to talk about Izzo and March.
Yeah, and defense wins championships, the old cliche, which, you know, as much as people might not like it, it tends to be true. I got to say, I'm a little biased. I started betting on Michigan State down the stretch. Maybe I've probably been on them in 10 of their last 12 games, and I've done pretty well with those bets. Their defense is phenomenal. I like their team. If you watch that final home game against Michigan when they were kissing the court and hugging Izzo, it gave you this feeling like this is a team that could do something special. You know, they're a 3.5 point favorite. The number is probably right on. No disrespect to Ole Miss. It's just, I got to say, Michigan State to me feels like a little bit better. And yeah, I'm not stepping in front of Michigan State and Izzo at this time of year.
All right. Not stepping in front of Michigan State and Izzo, and I don't blame you. Let's hit on some of these other couple of games. This one's really perplexing. Kentucky, Tennessee. You just hear about it all the time. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. Yeah, well, is it? It seems like Kentucky kind of has Tennessee's number. As I mentioned, I like Kentucky in this game as well. The lines come down a little bit, rightfully so. Kentucky does have some problems rebounding from time to time, but there's a reason why their 2 wins over Tennessee, not only at home, but in Knoxville, were rather convincing. I mean, they were a double-digit road underdog in Knoxville and were able to knock this team off. And, you know, quite convincingly, at least, they're on the road by 5. I thought it was a good marquee win from them. Then they hit the buzzsaw that was Alabama. Alabama scores 100 points. You're going to lose at any time in the SEC tournament.
You got battling cliches here. You got the defense wins championship, and you also have that it's hard to beat a team 3 times. But it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but you beat them twice already, and you're getting points on a neutral court. It's pretty tough to talk yourself into finding value with Tennessee in this game. I like Tennessee. If you ask me which team I like more, I mean, but yeah, I don't think I can get there with Tennessee. I think the total is quite interesting. These 2 teams have gone under the total in 7 of the last 10 meetings. The last time they played in February, I think it was, at Kentucky, that game went well under the number. The number here is roughly the same as it was in the regular season meetings, and obviously there's a lot more at stake here. Tennessee's been one of the few teams that's played low-scoring games in this tournament so far. Of course, they have a great defense, and they play at one of the slowest paces in the country. Kentucky will want to speed them up. They haven't really been able to do that successfully in the regular season meetings. I'd lean under more than a side in this game.
Golly, I was telling Dan, our producer, before we hopped on live, that ad nauseum, I feel like it makes me physically ill to think about betting an under in this tournament. Every dead under that I have had, whether it be looking great and then bang, that monster 3 at half, or at the end of the game, that UConn Florida game comes to mind, where pointless 3-pointer and just makes the game go over the total. 4-0 again last night.
18 points in the final 40 seconds, 21 points in the last minute 30. That game was a dead set under. And I said it on another show a couple days ago, Kelly, that I think a lot of people saw that and just the public's going to say, betting overs. We're just taking every, and in fact, there was another panelist on the show I was on saying, oh, they're gonna hit the free throws at the end of the game. And, you know, yeah, sometimes they do. Sometimes it goes wild like that. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they score like 3 points in the final 2 minutes. So, and with this Tennessee team, I'm hoping that's what we see here. I think this could be one of those games where they're almost to the total, and then it just dies in the final minute and a half, and you don't see any more points.
All right, we got about 5 more minutes with Jesse. Then we're going to bring on Gianni the Greek. All right, Jesse, either game you want to talk about for tonight that's left or one of the games for tomorrow.
Yeah, can a dog actually win or cover in this tournament?
Your guess is as good as
I don't know
mine.
if you remember a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I was on with you and I said my strategy is betting favorites in March Madness because everybody else is trying to cherry pick underdogs and it's a popular thing to do. And sure enough, 1 seeds go 16-0, or 1 to 4 seeds go 16-0 in the first round straight up, and 11-5 against the spread. So I've done well with the favorites. That is my strategy, but I think it's getting carried away. The favorites have been winning so much. You have to see that pendulum swing. You can't just bet favorites and overs and it's just going to keep on coming in for you. This Michigan-Auburn game, Auburn's a 9-point favorite here. I'm a little bit concerned about Auburn. They lost 3 games down the stretch, 3 of their final 4 games. If you look at their leading scorer, Broom, he had a pretty good game against Tennessee in the SEC tournament. He scored a fair amount of points. But I was watching that game. I seen he was favoring his shoulder. The announcers were talking about how he's been dealing with a shoulder injury. He's only averaged 11 points per game in this tournament so far. That's not great if you want to lay it. You're expecting them to win by double digits. Their leading scorer isn't on top of his game. In fact, Auburn's win over Creighton, a double-digit win, a 12-point win, bit of a fraudulent win, or a fraudulent cover, let's say. They were up 6 with a minute and a half to go in that game. They were trailing at halftime. Creighton probably should have covered the spread in that game. Auburn scored 8 of the last 10 points in the final minute of the game. But if you're going to give me 9 points with this Michigan team, the way they played in the conference tournament, sometimes it's not about the better team. It's about the team that's playing better at the moment. And I think Michigan is that team that's playing better at the moment. Dusty May's got the history. He's done it with Florida Atlantic. Give me the 9 points with Michigan. The guys in the office will be loving that.
Yeah, I get it. It makes sense here. I think Auburn is the team that peaked too early, unfortunately for them. All right, let's see if there's any questions here in the chat. All right, guys, if you've got any other things that you want to ask, now is the time to do it. Jesse, kind of give yourself a little self-promotion before we get you out of here.
Yeah, I do have a 5% play for the tournament today. I've got another 4% play in the tournament, and I've got a NBA player prop that I really like. Really tempted to make it a 5%, but it's a 4% player prop. I'm 7-1 with my last 8 NBA plays. Really kicking ass with the NBA, up 90 some odd units since January 1st of 2024. Number 1 all time with player props at WagerTalk, and 12-0 in the NCAA tournament. I swept the end of the second half of the tournament last year, swept the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, and the final. I went 9-0 during that span, and then I've only put out 3 games in this tournament so far. I've been cherry picking winners, and up to 12-0. I got 2 games going today. So does it get any better than that?
No, it doesn't. I went 0-3 last night. Pretty gross fashion on 2 of them. That being said, we're going to get back at it today. Thank you to Jesse. You guys can always check him out here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Let's bring in VR. If you guys missed it, I'm going to reiterate some of the stuff from Art, just in case VR missed it, because I think he did. He said, reminder, minus 108 right now. If you bet day of at the Westgate Superbook, that is 2 cents on every dollar, guys. They need Michigan, Ole Miss, Tennessee, because the Sharps are on Kentucky, and the over in Houston, Purdue, due to a house player being on the under. And Art's favorite play tonight is Michigan +9. So VR, let's start there. Jesse said he likes the Wolverines tonight. It is Johnny Detroit's birthday, not quite, but we're going to start celebrating tonight right after the show. I'm going to head down to the beach to meet him.
Oh, wow.
I think he would really like a Wolverines win tonight, and I think I can't bet Auburn. Let's put it that way. I cannot bet Auburn and go have a few drinks and cheer against his team. So tell me your thoughts on this Michigan-Auburn game tonight. Did Auburn
I had a few drinks last night. I actually stayed at the Palms. That's why I was a couple minutes late logging in here. You know how they give you comps here and there? And I have my girl gambling now for me, and I just stand behind. And so they just throw her all kind of comps now. And so I'm like, let's go take advantage and stay there and stuff.
Why not?
Just got back. And it just did not go our way with college basketball yesterday. We lost the Texas Tech game. which was as sharp as they come, lost BYU, which was as sharp as they come. In fact, Dave Mason came on, and he thought that was his best play because his sharpest group came in on the BYU side as well. And we even lost player props, which rarely happens, where you're going to lose the sides and some player props. But here's what I can tell you so far. Michigan-Auburn, over is sharp. They started betting the over at 151, 151.5, 152. The public's actually two-way on that. Like, the bias is always towards the over, but just not the case in that game. In fact, I would say as of right now, that at least the more square accounts, they're more on the under in Michigan-Auburn than on the over, but one-sided Michigan money. The recreational bettors are taking the points with Michigan. I don't think it's the sharp bettors at all because you're seeing it up to 9, and they'd be picking off the 9s everywhere right now. Like if they were looking for, if they took any of the 8.5s, now that you could get 9 at some of even the sharper books that accept sharp money, they'd be picking off the 9. They're not picking off the 9. So that tells you the Michigan money coming in is all public. Doesn't mean it's, not going to cover, but it definitely is all public. I hope Auburn advances. I actually have my big bet is on Auburn. I agree with what Jesse said. Obviously, they're not peaking late in the season. They peaked early, but I still think they have one of the best teams. They're not offensively, nobody's better, and they still have a top 10 defense. So this team shows up. They could beat absolutely anybody. And I just think Michigan, they just don't have the offense. They're barely a top 40 offensive team. They barely cracked the top 15 in defense. I think they've had good matchups. I think they've outperformed the betting market. They've been an outlier because not only are they winning and covering games, but look at the kind of games that they're covering. They're winning games outright as underdogs. Like they were 2.5-point dogs to Purdue, 4.5-point dogs at Maryland, 4.5-point dogs against Wisconsin, 3-point dogs against Texas A&M. Now you're a 3-point dog against Texas A&M, okay? You win that game by 12 points. That's 15 points off the median, off what the closing line is. That's usually when you outperform the betting market like that, you're going to come back down to earth because they did that in back-to-back games more or less. And again, in a short sample size, anybody could run hot and you can outperform the market and you can defy probability, but you can't defy probability forever. Like you could get 9 heads and 1 tail in 10 flips, but you can't defy those odds forever. It isn't going to be 90%. We all know that. It's going to regress towards the mean. And when you flip that coin 500 times, you're going to get closer to 250. And I think with Michigan right now, like you had your chance to make money with them. They've covered 5 straight games. They won on the money line for you. Now they're facing arguably, I believe, that the toughest game they've faced so far. And even though they're outperforming the betting market, they're not getting 8.5, 9 points by accident. And compared to Auburn, which is the opposite side of the spectrum, that's usually the perfect storm to get good line value on a good team like Auburn because they haven't been performing up the market expectations. So you have one team that's outperforming the market, one team that's underperforming the market. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get line value. Doesn't mean, you're going to cash a ticket, but it means you're usually getting the best of it. And I think the market reflects that because anyone that got down at -8 at the opener right now is sitting pretty with a -9 is where the market is, even though Michigan money is coming in. And real quickly on the game right under that, the Mississippi and Michigan State, it's all Michigan State. I get it. Mississippi's, kind of snuck in there. And they've another team that's outperforming the betting market, winning games they're not supposed to be winning. They were 13-point dogs against Auburn. They kept that game within 5. They were 1.5-point dogs against UNC. They beat them in that play-in. 5-point dogs, Iowa State beat them by 13 points. So even though Mississippi seems to be outperforming the betting market, it's nothing close to what Michigan is doing. And with Michigan State, it seems to be one of the more public-sided bets tonight. And why not? Here's a team that has outperformed the betting market. Anyone that's been betting Michigan State for the last month and a half has nothing but a good feeling in their tummy walking up to the betting window. This team's performed for you. Not only have they won 9 out of 10 games, they've covered 9 out of 10 games. In fact, the only game they lost, they were slight favorites, 2-point favorites against Wisconsin. In the game, they lost by 1 possession. or this could very easily be a team that's coming in off 10 straight wins, 10 straight covers. And we know usually you're not going to get a discount on a team like that. You're going to be paying a premium. Again, it doesn't mean they're not going to win. It doesn't mean that they can't continue to outperform the market. But what it means is you're not going to get the best of it. Think about it. You're a sports book. You know the money's going to come in on Team A. In what universe am I going to give you Team A at a discount? If I know that 8, 9 out of 10 bets I'm going to write is going to be on Team A, why won't I attract some Team B money? It's okay. Let them get a half point better. Let them get a point better. All it's going to do is eliminate some of my risk. That's the job of the sports book. Again, it's not to predict outcomes. It's to manage risk efficiently and make sure they make at least their hold or greater than that. And seeing Michigan State only as a 3.5 point favorite, which is, a little more than one possession. You could buy that down to -3 because it's -105 at some of the sharpest outs right now. I'm looking at Bet Online and Mason's shop, and they're -105. So, you could get it -3, -115, -120. That to me is a telling sign when you have a number 2 versus a number 6. But I just think it's offensively, they're as close as they come. They're both barely in the top 30 offensively. And the big advantage Michigan State's going to have is on the defensive side of the ball. Will Mississippi have a lot of problems scoring? That's what it's going to come down to. Not much to report on the over-under. Under money as well. That's the only thing that sticks out. Nothing sharp that I could share, but it's 8 out of 10 bets on the under. They do not expect the recreational bettors a lot of money, a lot of points in this game. And we have a much bigger sample size than the Thursday games because a lot of Thursday action was tied into tonight's action. And a lot of it is still live. The public did very, very, very well last night. So they have a lot of live parlays going into today. And I could promise you, they're tied into Michigan. They're tied into Michigan State. They're tied into the under in the Mississippi State-Michigan State game. Houston, Purdue, one-sided again. Oh, Houston. And offensively, again, you look at power ratings, offensive efficiency, they're as close as they come. Top 10, both of them, barely. But it's the defense, again, another team that is so good defensively. Houston, top 3 as far as defenses go. So can they shut down that Purdue offense enough to get the cover? Yeah, I think they're giving a lot right here. 8.5 points. And we saw under steam come in early, but that got bought back today. One of the groups that I share with, we didn't bet it, but they came in and bet over this morning. So if you're seeing your line screen light up over the last hour, it's them betting the over in the Houston-Purdue game. And as far as the public goes, that's good two-way action. Finally, Kentucky, Tennessee, balanced action because of the sharp bettors on Kentucky. Kentucky got bet right away. I believe hearing through the grapevine, that's a Raz play as well. They took Kentucky at +5 when that line came out. You saw it got respect. It usually does. Went down to 4, 4.5. Then you get some public money on Kentucky on Tennessee, because it's right around that number that you could tease it to where they just have to win the game. And even though we always urge bettors, do not tease in basketball, NBA, or college, they're still doing it. You have so much recreational money right now. They're loving those teaser bets where they don't have to money line parlay the favorites. They could just tease the favorites down. And when you have a Michigan State that you could tease to where they just got to win the game, you have a Tennessee where you could tease where it looks like they just have to win the game. And you could even throw in Houston in there, where they just got to win by a possession or so. That's exactly what they're doing. And another one where the public's betting unders. So even though we've been seeing overs, it's not as if they're blindly betting the overs. And I said it before, the bias is usually towards favorite and over, but tournament time, it's a little bit different. People look for Cinderella. We expect Cinderella not to get sent home till she gets to the Final Four. And earlier rounds, you get that dog money. But that's just a little balance on the Tennessee and Kentucky. So that's pretty much what's going on behind the screen and what the sharp bettors are betting so far. So right now, it looks like Auburn, Mississippi, Purdue, and Kentucky if you're going anti-public, but it hasn't done all that well in the tournament.
The anti-public has not done well this tournament, I'll tell you that. They have absolutely cleaned up. I had a K-State account DM me and said that he might quit his job and just bet sports full-time. And I thought, okay. All right. About my Bills, 716 wants to know if there's any women's plays. K-State plays tomorrow, UC versus USC. No Juju is probably good news for the Wildcats, but I'm sure they have someone to fill in her spot. I know you don't know what any of that means because you don't actually watch women's basketball, and neither really
and I'm
do
number
I.
one at WagerTalk in NCAA women's. Number one at WagerTalk as we go into today. I swear to you.
Of course you are.
Number one in profit. We're crushing women's college basketball, and I couldn't name you one player on any of those teams. All about my bill. I forgive me. I swear to you right now, for my man right here, because he got up and asked the question. I logged into that group that bets college basketball that's allowed me to be number one in women's college basketball. And they split yesterday on the rugby. These guys love women's sports for some reason. But they don't have any women's college basketball yet. Here's what I promise you. Check back on my page at WagerTalk. I give you my word. If I get any women's college basketball for the tournament, not just today, but on Saturday and Sunday over the next 3 days, because I'm doing a free Steam room today, it will be a free play. I'm writing a post-it right now that any premium I send out women's to my subscribers, just log into my homepage on WagerTalk, and it's going to be a free play. So anything you get in women's, I promise you, free to everyone over the next 3 days. I'll make sure to put it on there, women's free pick for you.
Love that. Yes, games tomorrow and Sunday, I believe, as well. We'll see how kind of that goes.
You're live with your ticket. It's funny. My futures are, I need the state of Alabama to cut down the net. My one I gave my subscribers was Auburn before the tournament started. But 2 or 3 days ago, remember you were talking about which teams you think still offer value? And I was like,
yes.
Then Alabama. I kept saying Alabama keeps sticking out to me for some reason because I think they're being overlooked here. And based on the power ratings that I have a trusted friend send me, they're the next best team out of that bunch. And I ended up, I wish I would have gave it to my subscribers, but I don't like giving a lot of futures as premium plays because we know they're negative EV more times than not. So I'm not going to urge people to place negative EV bets, but I'll gamble a little myself. And I put like a nickel on them to win like 9,500. So I'll tweet that ticket out, and anyone that retweets it, I'll give you a dime because I didn't give it out to subscribers. So I'll have my girl with the Auburn ticket and the Alabama ticket. And if the state of Alabama cuts it down, I'll let you know. You pick who you think of any of these teams that have a shot. Whoever picks it right, I'll choose one of the names blindly and send you a dime. It worked good with the national championship. Hopefully
love it. We got one question here in the chat regarding futures bets. Let's pull that up really quickly and see.
With Texas Tech playing each other with Florida.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God, Jelly. I think he meant to say Kelly. But what do we do with our Texas Tech and Florida futures now they play each other? I think I sit back and relax.
Kick your feet up. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Yeah. They're doing it for you. They're doing all the work for you. I mean, I get it. If the result is better for you one way or the other, that's usually going to be the case with those tickets. But I don't think you try to play psychic. I don't think you try to make it any harder than it needs to be. I think you focus more on the Final Four, the Elite Eight. Their next game.
Wait, so let's back that up. I asked Jesse, do I bet Duke at 2-1? If I can find Duke 2-1 right now, it was plus like 230 yesterday. I think I saw 190 earlier. If I can find a futures bet on Duke to win it all, no.
I would not do it. I don't think so because here's the thing: Duke's got a tough game coming up. Like it's not going to be easy for them. Like I get it; they're 7-point favorites against Alabama, so obviously they're supposed to win that game. But Alabama's a tough out right now. They're confident. They're playing well. They're a team nobody wants to face. They're number 3. They have a better offense than Duke. It's on the defensive side of the ball, but at least Alabama's in that top 20. And they're the one team size-wise as well, athleticism and how they're running. I really think Alabama is going to give Duke problems. I don't like that I'm already seeing them kind of the public darling. Early on, I'm seeing 6 out of 10 bets on the Alabama side, but I think there's a lot of recency bias involved as well. We just watched them light up the screen and put up 100 points. So I would expect that you get bettors to grab those points right away in case they're not there. So that's not swaying me at all. But I don't think this is an easy out for Duke against Alabama. I would sit back and hope that someone knocks them out for you than locking them in at 2-1, just because there's still a lot of remaining teams that could take it down. You know, I mean, Duke is not a lock. You're good because you have Florida, which is right there with Duke. In fact, updated power ratings have Florida above them. I mean, again, these are within a half a point of each other. They just keep flip-flopping back and forth based on what the spread was, the closing line, how they outperformed it, underperformed it, how they adjust it, different point differential, the way they do it. But you have Florida as a horse, and you have Texas Tech as, you know, another horse for you. One of them, again, is going to advance. I'm sure you're hoping the Florida team is the one that gets it done, because I think they're more probable to cut down the nets than a number 10, than a number 3 Texas Tech, forgive me. But
what do you make those games against Duke? I know you have a good set of power ratings, VR. This will be my last question, because we got first pitch and Wager Talk today coming up right after this. So Texas Tech versus Duke, Texas Tech versus Alabama, Florida versus Duke, Florida versus Alabama, just so that I have a general idea. John Murray kind of threw some numbers.
Right. Who did you say, Duke versus Alabama?
Duke versus Florida. Duke versus Texas Tech.
Right now, if they played tonight, I would make Florida a 1.5 point favorite over Duke.
Versus Duke?
Yeah, real true line. Now, remember, what the book's got to do is the book's got to factor in recency bias, what the public's going to do. I'm talking about clear, real numbers, actual, just clear numbers. I would actually make Florida about a 1 point favorite. He has 3 sets. The one set has Duke as a 1 point favorite. The other one has Florida as a 1.25 favorite. And the other one has it like it's barely, either team. Yeah, they're that close. They are really that close.
Wow.
And it makes sense.
I was John Murray. I said 2.5, 3, 3.5, maybe, depending on how Florida looked before last night. Now Florida looks pretty good in the second half last night. But he said probably 2. So to hear that you have either Florida as a slight favorite or Duke as a slight favorite really kind of throws my idea a little bit differently. I thought maybe
they're that close. And even his offensive and defensive power ratings, he has Florida as better offensively, but he has Duke a little better defensively. So that almost crosses each other out. It's not like Duke's top 3 and Florida's barely in the top 15.
So I could, in theory, if Duke is minus 120, minus 125 in the game, right? It's not like they're minus 200 as a hedge. So I could just ride it out. Hope Florida wins. Maybe even Alabama somehow springs the upset. All right. Okay.
What was your other matchup? What was your other matchup, the line?
Texas Tech versus either Alabama or Duke.
Oh, Texas Tech against Alabama. They'd be about
6-point underdog to Duke.
About 3.5 to Alabama. And yeah, Alabama's about 3 points behind Duke, sometime in some 4 points behind Duke. So yeah, it would be right around there, 6.5, 7 against Duke with Texas Tech. Florida would be coin flip. I'm telling you, if they put out 3.5, you'll see Florida get steamed immediately. There's no way it's going up to 5. It's coming down.
I agree with you. All right, cool. That gives me a little bit better insight. Hopefully, I forgot who asked the question. Hopefully he's got, I think it was Ryan. Ryan's got a little better insight for himself. All right, we're letting it ride. Let's see how this thing plays out. You are the best. At Greek_Gambler on all your socials. And if you want to follow him on TikTok, he's got that 7. Say he's going to give a dime out to somebody. So keep in mind, make sure you guys are giving him a follow. WT.buzz/VR. Give us some college women's basketball as well. And VR, we'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. No Art to Caesar. So you are up first. Saturday and Sunday we'll get a better look
at home tonight. So I'll be bright and early, Kel. And free steam room today. You guys don't miss it. 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll go over to college basketball. We'll go over Major League Baseball. Hit 2 out of 3 with my first 4%. I told you. Finished number 1 2 out of the last 4 years. 1 losing year in the last 5 in baseball, and that was last season. So I was so ready for this year that we're going to bounce back and crush it. It was only first day, but it's nice to come out of the gate with the biggest bet winning. Took some of the damage away from the college basketball. And free steam room today, brother. So join us. We'll have a good time.
Right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, open to everybody. VR does great with these. You guys ask a question, he gives you guys the answer. Again, right here at Wager Talk YouTube channel in about, what do we got? 2.5 hours or so. All right, guys, got to get out of here. We've got Wager Talk today coming up, then First Pitch, hosted by Dan Alexander, our lovely producer on this show. So make sure you guys tune in for both of those. Good luck today. Lord knows I need it.